Today's learning objective is I can write a narrative. Today we will write an ending to Tadio Jones's adventure. Before we start, reread your climax from yesterday and correct spellings or replace vocabulary using the word map on the screen. Writing an ending. What do we need to focus on today? How can we write a clear ending? What features or parts do you need to include? For our ending, we are going to focus on the features that are with the green squares and the yellow squares. So the green ones are the ones that we must use, and the yellow ones are the ones that we should be adding to our writing all the time. So the first one on the left-hand side of the screen, the characters solve the problem in a believable way. The feelings of the character are described throughout. Paragraphs are used for each event or idea, so we make sure we misalign and have a clear paragraph. We need to use interesting language so it creates a clear picture for the reader in their head. Different types of sentences are used to interest the reader, and you've used some speech using inverted commas which have been punctuated correctly. In a minute you're going to watch the video right to the end, but before we do, we want to remember that part at the end. Once he's at the boulders, how does he get out? How does he escape? How does he feel? How does your story end? We're not looking at describing the treasure being chocolate. We're talking about it being treasure and not escaping and getting onto the train. We're just describing him being grateful, getting out safe and alive with his treasure. Now watch the video before looking on the next slide. How does Tadio escape from the mummies and the boulders falling around him? Is he okay? How does Tadio feel? Is he relieved? Is he exhausted? Is he grateful? Just think about all the different feelings and emotions that he might be feeling at the end of this adventure. How could your story end? What will happen to Tadio Jones? What will happen to the treasure? Is everyone okay? So at the end, tell us what's actually going to happen in your story. It is different from the video of Tadio Jones. We're creating our own ending, but it must be believable. Remember that from our features. Okay, now we've got our sample text. We're going to read through it and see if you can find all of the features. Can you find the features in the green box with the green boxes? So our ending. Covered in dry dust, Tadio squeezed himself past the large boulders, limping slightly. He had come to the edge of a cliff with a river of burning hot lava below him. He looked around frantically for a way across. "I can use the book," he screamed as he reached for the diary. Unbelievably, a bridge appeared as Tadio touched the pole. Thankfully, Tadio escaped the dangers of the treasures and tunnels. As he made it to freedom, he let out a huge breath. "I'm safe, and I have my treasure," he whispered as he slumped exhausted against the jagged wall. So now read through the example or scan through it again now. What features did you like? Can you identify parts in the text that you really liked that you could write down and use that and magpie that for your ending? What parts would you change? The ending. Would someone come and capture him at the end? Could there be some people who take him back inside to return the treasure? Does something happen when it comes out in the sunlight? Does that treasure disappear into thin air? Just think of how your story could end differently to this. Make it believable, but I'm looking forward to reading these. And just what we're looking for here in this text, can you find any prepositions? Can you find any conjunctions that join two clauses? Can you find any adverbs? Most of them will end in ly, but not all of them. Can you see any speech where we've used inverted commas? You could write those down so you've got some examples for your own ending. Now, let's have a look. Did you find any of the prepositions, conjunctions, adverbs, or inverted commas? Well, if we look in the yellow, we've got some adverbs. We've got slightly, frantically, trying to give a sense of how things are happening. Are they happening quickly? Is it all fast? Is it about feelings? Nervously? Are they anxiously doing something? So try and use these to build some speed, some tension, some excitement. We've got prepositions telling us where Tadio is positioned, so below or against. Try and see if you can identify those too. We've also got some conjunctions, as and, so we're trying to extend our sentences and join two clauses. And we've also used a couple of examples of inverted commas using speech where Tadio's talking, using the 66 and 99 and punctuation. Remember that punctuation, really, really important. Now see if you can use those features and some of those examples in your ending that you're about to do. Okay, your task is now to write a clear ending. Keep it simple. Remember not to add anything new at this part of your story. Make sure you include your adverbs, conjunctions, and prepositions. Use inverted commas and make sure your final sentence tells the reader what happens to Tadio. Remember though, keep it believable. And your ending must tell us how he escapes. It must describe Tadio Jones's thoughts and feelings. It must tell us what happens to Tadio. But please, just remember, don't end your story with "it was all just a dream." That is not what we're after. We're looking for some simple ideas as to how this ends and what happens to Tadio and the treasures. When you finish, please reread it and make sure it makes sense to you and other people. Share your writing with someone next to you or photograph it and send it to school on Edmodo.